presentation right. Perfect.
Is it okay now?
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. Seeing, hearing you good, and the screen as well.
Okay. So first of all, thank you for inviting me to be the keynote speaker. That's a real honor. I'm looking forward as well to meet in person in September. What I want to do today is share with you a short introduction about myself. You already highlighted going from beer to pharma. What's the difference? I will tell you. Then I would like to go a bit into detail about Teva's link to serialization aggregation. I know this is a serialization event, but for me, and I will explain later, aggregation is just as important, or maybe even more important. Then I would like to go with you through our challenges and opportunities. So what are the challenges we're currently facing? But also what are the opportunities that we see going forward? Because for sure, serialization aggregations create a huge opportunity for supply chain in the next 3 to 5 years. And I would like to end with a Q&A. As mentioned, I would like to keep it to make it interactive. So I would like to use the last 5 to 10 minutes for Q&A. I do hope I give you some thought to ask questions, because that's my aim for being a keynote speaker, to really try to look forward and not to express too much what we did in the past and what decisions we took, etc. No, I really would like to take a forward look and see the opportunities that lie ahead, because for sure there are many. So introduction, it's a rather empty slide, I realize. The reason why is I will show you a video in just a few minutes, but I would like to start with a personal introduction. So my name is Willem Beerthuis. I'm based in the Netherlands and work for Teva now for almost 8 years, and being responsible for the global logistics within Teva. And the way to explain it best is everything that moves from production to our market DCs falls under my team's responsibility. So everything that drives, floats or flies is something we look after, including all required quality checks, LRAs, temp blockers, etc. Besides that, we also look after cross-dock and some warehousing opportunities we have globally. And yeah, that's a full-time job. We have a team of 70 people looking after that. And given the current supply chain challenges globally, every day is a new challenge, and every day there's a new problem to solve, and that makes it really interesting. So the role doesn't allow you to sit on your laurels; it's keeping you on top of your toes, and that's something I like. Yeah, we hope the global situation will ease a bit after COVID and the current situation in Ukraine. But that's what we're dealing with on a daily basis. So give me 1 second to go through a short video, because that best explains
More than 40,000 Teva employees who wake up every morning can be counted, as can the number of manufacturing sites in which they work around the world. What can't be counted is their motivation to enable someone, somewhere, to live better days with their loved ones. That's what counts. Teva provides over 2,500 different products to patients. Every day, we deliver Teva medicines to pharmacies and hospitals in more than 60 countries. These are numbers we take pride in. But what really counts is our vast contribution to humanity. Our generic medicine saved hundreds of billions of dollars in healthcare costs over the past decade. we enable access for millions of people around the world to quality medicines. For over 120 years, Teva has pioneered scientific explorations, establishing 25 cutting-edge research centers and strategically investing in biopharmaceuticals to the benefit of current and future generations. Globally, we received approval for 800 of our generic products in 2020 alone. These are all impressive numbers that can be counted. But what counts the most is the positive impact we make on about 200 million people every day who can have access to a wider range of medicines to address their health needs and cherish the priceless times together.
So it's always better to show a video than explaining it myself. I hope you still hear me. So what I would like to go through now is Teva's experience so far. So what is the experience on serialization aggregation so far over the last recent years? So first of all, I know this is a serialization a conference track, but for Teva, it's really the combined opportunity of serialization of packs in units and the aggregation of pallets and information. That's also why it's taken that way. And that's why both supply chain and IT are involved. The reason for a combined opportunity is because we do see a clear bandwidth and also a demand from our customers to make sure that products get delivered in a seamless way and in a controlled supply chain. The problem that we saw is that there are different regulations globally. So a couple of years ago, I believe in 2017, 2018, we started with the Russian market, aggregation, serialization, aggregation on Russian market, and that actually started manually. Over the last couple of years, we've seen more and more countries adapting the regulations and rolling out the new serialization aggregation rules. The problem, however, and that's my second point, is mainly customer driven. So in the same country, we do see that different customers use different timelines for when products need to be serialized and aggregated, which cost cascading timelines and doesn't help us in rolling out an efficient process. Because always the first customer drives the timeline. The good thing is that we're having an open conversation with our customers. We work together on ensuring we supply the products serialized and aggregated going forward. And with these discussions, we try to aim to reduce the products to be non-aggregated, to be scrapped, because there's always an overflow of products in the old package and the new package, let's say. And that's what we're trying to optimize to make sure we always have medicines for the people. And by having an open discussion on timelines, we're still able to manage it well. The last part is that project ownership. Over the last, when the project started, there was a clear, it was actually a clear project for IT. When serializing the products at a production facility, it was a CAPEX and IT project where we had to buy the equipment, where we had to make sure production lines were equipped the right way, and we were kind of driving that through our global sites, which are almost 60. But also, please don't forget our contracted manufacturers, because they also are an essential part of our production and our delivery to our patients. We soon understood that also supply chain had a crucial role here, because supply chain is actually the function ensuring the products get from the sites to the markets. And that's where supply chain kicks in, because we have to make sure that the products get in a secured way, in a high quality way, and at an efficient cost from the sites to the markets. And by having the opportunity to aggregate the pallets, we have the room to make sure that all the acceptance and the release of products can be done on aggregated pallet level. And that's why it's a close harmonization between IT and supply chain for this whole project. I will also stipulate, going in the next slides, why we believe there are great opportunities going forward, and that will probably give a better and a clearer picture on why supply chain is playing a crucial and pivotal role in the rollout of serialization aggregation within Teva. Oh. Yes. What are our challenges of today? So when we look at the rollout today, one language and one global approach. As you know, serialization aggregation is something which is rolled out globally. The product has been serialized already, but how we aggregate it on pallet level, that is being done country by country. We started with Russia, the US, Brazil, and more countries have announced they're releasing this. We've seen that, for instance, the difference between Russia and the US, there's a clear difference in a number of numbers, which means that the production lines need to make sure that there's different equipment providing the right aggregation serialization information. Because of the products are being produced at one site, some products are produced at one site, you want to make sure that you can use that equipment for all markets, for all countries. And currently, we do see that some countries are different, and as a result, there's lacking one language and one approach on global level, which is making it difficult for us and probably other pharma companies as well to standardize the way we work. Secondly, we see that it's customer driven. So we see that our customers are deciding when they want to receive the goods on aggregated level. And if, for instance, you have 10 customers, the first customer setting the timelines determines the rollout of the project in total. So that means we have cascading timelines, and something we need to discuss not only with one customer, but all 10, to make sure we find the optimal solution that fits everyone and also allows us to ensure high quality aggregated supply level. The second challenge we see is the IT landscape. And especially one of the key topics here is making the information available globally. With the current situation globally, with the war going on in Ukraine, and sanctions being rolled out, not only to Russia, but also to other countries, it is important that we make the information, it's more and more difficult to make the information available globally. Especially on aggregated level. If we have a product being made in the US and we have to ship that to Russia, then we need to make sure that the server allows to share the information from the US to our Russian customer to ensure they can read out the aggregated pallet information. This is just one example. But it is becoming more and more difficult in today's world, and that's putting up new challenges to truly work in a cloud solution and make sure the right information is available at the right moment. And what I also mentioned is one line producer for multiple countries. We do have specialty products, as mentioned, biosimilars, for instance. where we have only one location to produce medicines for our global global patients. If we have to use different serialization codes and different aggregation methodologies, it does make it difficult to almost impossible to do it on a global scale and ensure quality and service levels. So that is something we're challenged with. We're finding solutions by doing things manually. When it's low volume, that's possible. But we also have to look at dynamic solutions for printing, dynamic IT solutions, etc. And the last element we're looking at, we see challenges today, is physical limitations. As you can imagine, and we already did that, on some pack sizes, we are unable to print serialization codes simply because the pack size is too small. So it's kind of contradicting with our sustainability targets that we have to enlarge the pack size simply to allow the code to be printed on the pack. And that's something we're looking for solutions, but that is something we're facing. And also equipment, having the right equipment globally to read, to print, to read out, and to handle aggregated information. With current shortage of IT equipment is a challenge. We're managing, but it is costs are increasing, and we do see availability shrinking. So that is not helping us in rolling out a successful program here. So opportunities, because there are opportunities as well. We see opportunities when we look at serialization aggregation, and again, we look at it as one package. We don't see it separately. On track and trace, I've attended a conference of one of the forwarders, and smart labeling is something which is coming quickly. Just imagine if we can use the aggregated pallet information on a smart label. That will be able to actively measure and ping the location. It will be able to measure, to connect with temperature loggers. So that means we can actually then have live information on all the materials on a pallet, what the location is, if it's exposed to light, if it's exposed to temperature excursions, etc. And last but not least, it will also allow us to measure carbon footprint. So making our boxes and pallets smart will allow us to unlock a huge potential in the Internet of Things, because there are many examples here on geofencing, on actively track and trace, etc. that will help us to monitor the supply chain better. The second opportunity we see is counterfeit. We do see that when having a serialized product and aggregated, it will help us to reduce the counterfeit, because we can always check if the product is genuine and where the product has been produced, when, etc. Also, combine this with smart labeling. It will secure and ensure that our patients will get the right and correct medicines, and not having medicines that are maybe not produced and only have the title, Teva title logo. It will also help when we have a scrappage, if we have a waste, if we have to scrap products, we can simply use the whole serialized and aggregated information to ensure that products cannot be released to the market anymore. A second item which we see benefit is in parallel sales. We all know that sometimes products are being sold in one country and pop up in another country. When having the aggregated information, this will help to pinpoint that and to make sure we can track that flow. The third element we see opportunities is customer visibility. The full end-to-end visibility, also again linked with smart labeling. We can provide our customers insight in where the products are, all the way from manufacturing, if needed, up to final mile delivery. As mentioned, with personalized medicines, that might be or will be important to know when your product is leaving the production facility, when the estimated arrival time is, including all the information that is connected to this. It will also allow them to monitor at real time, and it will allow us to have an automated supply chain. Just imagine if we have a smart label on a pallet or a box, and that label can be read by all parts within the supply chain. So not only the production lines, but also the cross-stock facilities, the market DCs, the customer DCs, so the wholesalers, as well as the final patient or hospital. If they all speak the same language, if we're all able to read out the same information real time, it will make sure that we can update delivery times, reduce out of stocks, etc., and provide a much better service to all our customers. The last part is quality. The whole program of serialization aggregated information will ensure a better and more detailed GDP compliance. It will allow us to track and trace on individual pack level. It will allow us to have a controlled supply chain on temperature. And as mentioned, we will know, our patients will know when they have personalized medicines, what the flow was of their medicine. So they know, has it been counterfeited? Is it real? What are the temperature excursions, etc. So it will make it much more strong. It will make the whole supply chain much more stronger and visible for everybody within that supply chain. This was my presentation. Are there any questions? I would really like to open the floor now. As mentioned, I would like to take the last 5 to 10 minutes for Q&A to keep it interesting.
So William, first, thanks for the presentation. And you know, you are one of the only person who put serialization, aggregation, and saying that the same name.
Yes.
I found for a long time, I always called my team was laughing that aggregation was a bit the stepchild of serialization, so that people didn't pay a lot of attention. You are the one who paying attention. I think they equal opportunities or even more opportunities to be better, to optimize aggregation, because serialization is done. So where do you see the biggest, you know, areas where we need to improve on aggregation?
Well, the biggest area, I think, realizing that it's connected. I think that's where the biggest area of opportunity lies, because we realize that if you make a single pack, if you put a serialization code on it or a single pill, it doesn't change the supply chain. It only makes it more complex, because that means you have to scan that individual box or whatsoever. But if you aggregate it and you make the pack smart, you make the box smart and the pallet smart, and you can use that information also to serve your customers, that takes out a lot of waste in the supply chain, because that means if our customer orders a full pallet, they only have to scan the code on the pallet. If it's a smart label, they can automatically see the whole temperature regime, track and trace, everything is known. And automatically the whole tree opens below of how many boxes, what's in those boxes, is there something missing? They can link to the raw materials, they can link to the pack materials, they can link to sustainability reports, because if we can connect our loggers to that, we also know what is the routing, we know how much fuel has been used, etc. So there's I believe we believe that serialization cannot go without the aggregated project or aggregation project, and vice versa. So, and because there are such big and huge developments going forward on smart labeling, this is where the true opportunity lies, and that's where we're focusing on. And that's also why it's within the supply chain area, and not only IT, because that's where we can add value by aggregating that information.
But you agree on that it has to be fully integrated to serialization.
Yeah.
And we see, when I talk to prospect customer, that they see that the savings and where they can get another to the next level is definitely in aggregation. And maybe you're saying the whole thing combining also some warehouse and smart labeling all together to make it more one project and involving IT in is definitely a formula to success.
Yes, correct. And that's actually, it's interesting because Manuel and I had the same discussion when we, I think in January, and I actually asked him, am I the right person to be at the conference? Because I'm more looking after the aggregation information, which is important. And actually he mentioned, well, it's the right approach because that's where the opportunity lies. So
good. And another one comes for the next 12 months. What makes you up? What can't you not sleep at night? And what are the biggest challenge for you, you know, in your area for the next 12 months?
So within logistics or within aggregation?
In general, where you're responsible for.
So let me start with.
It's all somewhere together anyway, so I don't want to separate it.
Yeah. So let me start with the supply chain. I think with the whole global situation, that's with the shortage of equipment, of drivers, of fuel price, energy increases, getting the products to our patients is going to be a big challenge, which is we're working on hard every day, and we're still able to do that. So that's a good thing. And if if we look at the aggregation level, that's where I think the common language is something which is something keep me awake, or because it's a natural tendency to go to your customers and try to serve what they want and what they want to get. But I think it's also our duty as a pharma company to make sure we drive a common language globally, because it cannot be done that we have one line where we produce a product and we have maybe 10, 15 different serialization aggregation codes, because it simply makes that we can produce less and serve less patients. So to be in the best interest of all patients around the world, it's crucial that there is a common language, because just imagine that we can use the serialization code, and it's happening already, on your personal iPhone. You can just scan the code. You know it's being connected with our data loggers. So we have smart data loggers as well. So that means wherever you are in the world, you get a parcel delivered with your medicines, personalized medicines. You scan the code and you see the complete supply chain. And you know that whatever you're taking with a syringe or a pill, that has been moved safe, and we validate, and you can control that it's real. It's not counterfeit, and there's no risk for you to take those medicines. And that's what we're aiming for. And that's, I believe, it's our duty all together and everybody in this conference to get that done. And I don't think it matters for which company you're working for. I don't think it matters where you're located. I think we all have the same aspirations to serve our customers and patients and make sure they get what they need in a safe way. And I think that's where serialization, aggregation can play a pivotal role.
Thanks. And final one.
Yep.
I'm happy that you mentioned at least the ESG, environmental, social, and governmental carbon footprint.
Yes.
And you know, as you know, it become more and more relevant with the climate change and everything around it. So do you think it's only carbon footprint or is it only the start of a whole new way we have to look at supply chain and production, you know, to doing it? Because I know a lot of people talk about this carbon footprint calculator, you know, that kind of stuff. Or do you see it even beyond that? But first of all, I'm happy that you're seeing it and acknowledge it and work on it. But where do you see that ESG things has room for improvement?
So we use ESG. Maybe I should have put ESG there, but we see it in the widest range possible. So when we ship something from A to B, we want to make sure that we use the right packaging, so it's reusable. We make a choice on how we move our products. Is it by air, ocean, or road freight? We make a choice on what packaging solutions to use, and I mean active, passive, blankets, etc. And that will also it's also reusable. Of course, within the production, we also make sure we limit the waste. And as a result, we've successfully reduced year on year our carbon emissions, and we have very strong targets going forward. Teva actually issued sustainability linked bonds. So it's public information. So that means it's embedded in our strategy to reduce our carbon footprint. And I think, we know it starts with making a choice. So when you make it visible for your patients what the carbon footprint or the ESG impact is on their medicines, I think that's how it starts, because that's if you go to the supermarket and you can make a choice which kiwi you buy, for instance, if it's from New Zealand, from Italy, or from Israel. You can make a choice not only on pricing but also on the carbon footprint, and I think that's our just as we have cost visible, we should also have the footprint visible, and that's our duty, and that's something we have to do. And we're trying everything we do with returnable packaging, with finding smart solutions, combining freight, putting more into a container in a truck, etc. to improve that. Yeah, that's where, to make it visible, the aggregated information is crucial.
Thank you, Nancy. Good way. So we have another one from the audience.
Yes, one more from the audience. Marcel Kutte is asking, some manufacturers that have implemented aggregation do not use it anymore due to effects on OEE and the complexity in operations. What's your experience on this?
Can you repeat, because there's some echo on the
That
line.
have implemented aggregation do not use it anymore due to effects on OEE and complexity in operations.
Yeah. Okay.
And your experience on that?
Yeah. So I understand that we had the same, and I think it's the way we approach it is from an IT perspective. So we have a global server where we have the aggregated information available, and it's very simple. This is a very simple way of doing it right now, and there is of course future developments. But when an aggregated pallet is being moved from the Netherlands to the US, for instance, the server shares that information with the US. So the moment the pallet arrives in the US, it has the aggregated information available in their system, and the scanning of the pallet actually releases that information. So it's a cloud-based solution essentially, and it works for us. And that's also the challenge, because the sharing information via cloud globally becomes a more and more difficult situation, because can we share servers and connections between different countries? It becomes more and more sensitive, so that will be a challenge. But for now it works, and because we made it part of the supply chain strategy, it also gives a strong focus, because we believe this is the way forward to link all quality information to a pallet, box, and pack.
Thanks again for your explanations and presentation. Hope I see you in September.
Yes.
And thanks for the insight. And now let's hand over to the next one. Somebody else.